All right, I'm excited. I'm talking to a fellow Canuck all the way in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where they just had a new mayoral election. And I'll have to tell you, Noah, before I allow you to introduce yourself, that the talk show hosts and the comedians in the United States are like disgruntled and disappointed that Mr. Ford didn't get reelected.
I can imagine. You're not gonna get a lot of material out of this guy. He is that the city has elected a straight arrow.
Yes, I understand that. So Noah, let's start. I know you're doing some exciting things. Can you briefly tell everybody who you are, who you're with, what do you do?
Sure. I'm the founder of Checkout51. Checkout51 it's a mobile app that gives its users cash back on groceries. So the way it works is you go to any store you like in the country, buy these products on our list at a regular shelf price, and then we give you cash back for when you buy those products. And those products look like grocery coupons. So $1 off of Special K cereal, $2 off of Advil, and it's been quite successful. We've got almost 1 million users in Canada, more than 2.5 million users in the U.S. They've saved north of $11 million, and it's cruising along. So fingers crossed that we continue at this pace.
No, that's actually pretty exciting. And I want to ask you certainly more about it. It was interesting. I was interviewing the founder of Atari and Chuck E. Cheese recently, who is a friend of mine. And when you mentioned Advil for sale, I always told him he should have put an Advil kiosk in the Chuck E. Cheese restaurants because he could have made a fortune on that one. But so you've obviously, you've achieved some great things at a young age. And I want to start, with what could be a very long answer, but your brief answer as to what's your definition or your perspective, if you will, of leadership.
Leadership to me is really about inspiration. It's really about inspiring people to have an impact. Because really, if you're in a leadership position, your job, the outcome is to somehow change things, is to have an impact. So a leader, someone at the top of that organization, their role is to inspire people to do that. I think a lot of that has to do with giving people the direction, show them where they have to head, give them the outcome that they need, and then work for them, and then give them all the tools and the support they need to feel like they own it, feel like they have the responsibility to achieve it. And so leadership to me is really about inspiration, and it's about empowerment.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of describing it. Now, you've had a pretty diverse background in different types of projects, industries, and how did you come to this particular one, and that for that matter, even some of the other businesses you're in? And when you answer that, tell me a little bit what you thought was there different leadership styles you had to endure from others, and different leadership styles you had to bring on yourself?
Sure. So this one had to do with seeing a hole in the market. We provide deals to shoppers, and we provide amazing, unprecedented targeting to packaged goods companies. And that wasn't that they didn't have the ability to do that before. So from a shopper perspective, traditional couponing, even mobile couponing, is painful. Start looking through freestanding inserts, the stuff you find in newspapers, cutting it out or printing it out from websites, and then stuffing it in your purse or your wallet. Being that person in line who's trying to match coupons to products, holding up the line, arguing with a 16-year-old cashier about whether it's valid or not. It's just there's a lot of pain in traditional couponing. Yet people really want to save. They want to put food on their family's table for less. So we thought there was a way to make that easier. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just snap a photo of your receipt to prove that you purchased the product, and then, bam, you got cash back. So that's what we built. And then on the packaged goods company side, they see a lot of pain in the traditional couponing process. There's very little transparency. It's unbelievably it's slow. They don't get results back for months. It's expensive. It's hard to measure. So with them, we give them the ability to run like week-long campaigns. They can turn them around on a dime, and then they're only, they pay strictly for performance. So there's no more guessing at redemption rates anymore. And then we give them a ton of data, both to help target their campaigns, and then on the back end, so they can truly measure a return on investment. So this opportunity truly came out of looking at the interaction between a buyer and a seller, or between a manufacturer and a shopper, seeing that there was pain on both sides of that network, and if we could come in and we could be a bit of a painkiller and we can bring some smiles, that there's probably good value we can create. So that's how we came to that one.
So, did it happen from an actual experience of standing in line by somebody with coupons?
Yeah. I've been standing. My wife does the majority of the grocery shopping, but every time we go grocery shopping, we seem to be behind that person in line who's holding up the line and who's just doing their best to try and save money for their family. So it's hard to be angry at them. So I think let's come up with a solution that's going to make us all happier.
So you had to take a leadership role, number one, in the vision of doing this, and then in the leadership role in the sense of bringing people on with you, and the usual thing an entrepreneurial company has to do, and getting the companies with the products to be in on it, et cetera, et cetera. For some people that would almost be overwhelming, and for some people, successful entrepreneurs, they thrive. How did you get all that going, and how did you lead the way?
Yeah, I always thought that if you can't sell what you're doing, at least the concept of what you're doing, to the various stakeholders, whether that's potential clients, whether that's potential employees, whether that's vendors, and it's probably not that good of a concept to begin with. So,
good point.
I'd say there's a whole bunch of things that I tried even before this where it didn't work. So, I wouldn't say I'm like born with some sort of blessed skill to be able to convince people to come on board when they shouldn't. I think it's really about finding the right product market fit that's gonna have an impact, that's going to scratch an itch, solve a problem. People want to be involved in change. They want to make a difference. They want to build things. They want to create things. They want to have impact. And so if you can lay out something that will help them do that, people show up.
You can see on my website, I compare a lot of things to sports.
Yeah.
Probably comes from my days of cheering on the Montreal Canadiens all the time. And I'm always amazed how winning cultures are developed, and you're kind of describing it a little bit by the way you say people want to make a difference, people want to change, etc. Is that how you create a winning culture at your firm?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's all about it's just all about being really clear about what you're going after. Super transparent about the goal, the route you're taking and why, what's expected, and I think at the end of the day, people like that transparency. A team wants to know their boundaries. They want to know what's expected of them. They want to know, and they want to know that they've got support and the appropriate resources to get there.
Yeah, I think it's such a clear point. It's usually the simple things are usually the most valuable, and it's amazing how many. Someone told me a story the other day about values, and they said, "Do you remember Enron had their values on a plaque in their lobby of their office?" But I don't think anybody was clear about them. So you raise a great point. Is people just want to know what they're doing, where they're going.
Exactly. They want actually. I think it's really more about your raison d'être, as your why, the reason you exist. I'm inspired by, there's a TED talk I saw about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. We truly believe that if you come back to the why, whether that's with your clients, whether that's with your employees, then that can be your guiding light. And then it's just a matter of giving them the path to get there.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant point. I was told it was that old line, they buy the sizzle, not the steak type of deal,
Yes.
that type of thing. And Peter Drucker had a great line once. He said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, which I thought was also pretty cool. Let me ask you, do you have a board of directors yet?
Yep, we do.
Because, depending on different stages of companies, some do, some don't. And in our executive search practice, we also do a lot of board work. And I find, obviously, board members, some can be more valued than others. What do you consider, and in your experience of creating a board, the right fit board members for your firm or any firm for that matter?
Sure. I think there's a few really important characteristics when looking for people on your board. First of all, it's people who can stay at a high level. It's people who can stay at the 30,000 foot level, who know when to get involved and to help out, but really also know when to stand back and can ask the appropriate questions from that 30,000 foot. If you're working day to day in this thing, or anything, it's really easy to get lost in details. So a good board member is constantly taking the management team, taking the CEO and pulling them upwards and saying, let's think about the big picture. Is this really, are these the right big chess moves to be making, given the competitive landscape, given the capital structure of the company, given the feedback you're getting from your customers, given the way you've been able to recruit and retain employees, to ask the big questions, and to do it in a supporting way, and as opposed to an adversarial way. So the best board members, I think, and we're blessed to have a fantastic board, but the best board members are those that are that can stay at that level and ask the good questions, and ask the good questions that allow the manager to walk away and say, maybe we should look at it this way. That to me is key, is keeping at that level.
I know. I think that's, as my Brit friends would say a lot recently, I think that's brilliant, actually, because you're right. You do get caught up in the day-to-day, and you need a little bit of that longer-term vision, you need a little bit of that, and you need the support. So I think you're right on. I think you're right on the money. Let me ask you about something you certainly know about social media. I get a lot of discussion these days about the pros and cons of social media, and everything has a pro and con. But it's definitely had a huge impact on how leaders and executives run their business. How do you find it impacts? Obviously it impacts your business. You're in media, new media. But how do you find it impacts maybe decisions you make or exposure you get, exposure you may want, may not want, etc.?
For me, and I guess for a lot of people that work here, social media it's not really anything that's like new or different or scary. It's simply just a communications platform. Mm-hmm. I imagine if Skype existed, 40 years ago, or however long, you'd say like, what do you think of the telephone? How do you use it in your business? It's like, it's just a way to communicate. It's like we're using Skype now. There's just a whole bunch of different ways to communicate. So it's about choosing the right communication platform for the right audience. So sometimes social media for us as a company works really well, obviously, for shoppers and members. So we communicate with them via email. We communicate with them via the app that they download, so notifications within the app. And then we also communicate with them on social media. People who follow us on Facebook or Twitter, it allows us to give us a little more of that extra personality that sometimes you can't deliver through other mediums. So you have to really just know who's on the other end of that communication pipe, and what that communication pipe lends itself to in terms of like what kind of media. But social media, web, telephone, email, all they are just different communication platforms. So
yeah, sorry, I think you described it actually perfectly, to be honest, because everybody, I've had, I've said this a few times, I had someone tell me, a more seasoned individual tell me, I used to be able to have meetings where I brought everybody into my office, we had heart-to-heart, and we discussed and this and fought one, and then they left. Now I have a meeting before anybody walks out the door, it's on Twitter, basically. And so that's where his perspective was. And but I think you're right. Even they talk about people on their phone while driving. I go back to the conversation. I wonder what happened when radio came into the car. Did they think that was going to be a distraction too? So you're right. It's just different communication.
Right.
Very cool. You're young, but what about younger up and coming leaders? There's a lot of young and up and coming leaders. They've got an insatiable desire for knowledge. Sometimes because things like, Facebook and whatnot happen, that's like a phenomena fast. There's a little bit of an impatience or not wanting, not deferred gratification. What advice can you give young up and coming leaders, even coming out of college and whatnot, on how to prepare themselves for the future?
Yeah, I think, I think I'm still only at the beginning of my learning, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot to learn, and I look back to the way I was, only a few years ago, and I was unbelievably green, and I think I'll look back to where I am now and say, I can't believe that guy was running that organization. He didn't know anything. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt. But I would say do something hard. I think is good advice. Do something that you're not that there's a good chance that you'll fail or get wrong at least a whole bunch of times before you get it right. So build something. If you're going to build something, or if you're going to sell something, that's hard. Selling something means people telling you no. Building something, you never build it right the first time, so it means that it's wrong. That stuff builds character and helps you succeed. It's funny. We always think that successful entrepreneurs, it's always up and to the right, and that's the way we're going to get there. It's never like that. As my experience is that, there are some days where you feel like you're on the moon and it was up and to the right, and the next day you're back and you're like, oh no, how did I end up in this situation? And then there's some crazy up and down. So the earlier you can put your neck on the line and feel that pain, it's good. Pain is good.
Yeah, I think you're aligned with most successful people that say that you should fail as early as you can and learn. All right, a few personal questions here. Do you have a pet or any pets?
I did growing up, but I don't now. I've got 3 relatively young kids, so it's enough responsibility for me. The last thing I need is someone else to clean up after.
What boys, girls?
2 girls and a boy.
Very good. All right, enjoy every minute. As we said before, it goes fast. Do you have a favorite activity or sport?
I am a big sports fan. I'm a big Toronto sports fan. Far and away, I'm a huge baseball fan. I have been my entire life. So I will follow every Blue Jays game, and I'm a big fan. Into hockey, basketball, NFL football. So relatively big sports fan. I love politics. I love following politics. I actually try not to talk politics. I find it to be unbelievably divisive unless it's with people I'm very close with.
Right.
So don't ask me about anything about politics, but I enjoy it. When I like to travel for food. I will pick destinations based on food. My wife is the same. So we love to try new food and get the best food out of a city.
So you're the Canadian Anthony Bourdain?
Sure, we'll go with yes.
So we'll both be at CNN one day then.
I never thought of it that way, but okay.
So let me ask you, that's great stuff. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show or Broadway show or something like that?
I don't see a ton of movies nowadays just because of my schedule. 3 kids and a business makes it hard.
Yeah.
My wife and I have recently been watching Scandal, which is awesome, with Kerry Washington. Just a fantastic show. I do like watching, if it's just me sitting there and I'll watch news and I can watch news commentary for hours upon hours, especially during, election season.
I know.
I just can't get enough of the fodder. Yeah.
That's cool. How about music?
You know what? I'm proud to say I'm a top 40 guy.
All right, it's good to be proud.
Oh no, I gotta be more eclectic. You know what? I like top 40.
You're allowed.
I like hip hop, but I also like top 40, and I'm not sure what that says about me. I don't want to work too hard to go find my music. I like catchy music and usually top 40 is catchy music. So
hey, it works. Gino Vanelli's down here.
Oh yeah.
Remember him?
I do.
Really? No, come on. How about? I know you say you like to go, different countries, different food, which by the way I love too. It's fantastic to be able to eat different types of food. Is there maybe a favorite type of food?
It's hard to argue with French food, French or Italian. I mean, there's the richness of French food. The fact that they're just completely unapologetic with their butter is amazing. And Italian food, just the fact that they can create something, the great Italian food can bring you almost to tears with how good it is with only basically one ingredient or two. Like, here's tomato and olive oil. By the way, cry. It's like, oh, it's so good.
Well, we'll end it off with, oh, it's so good, or c'est si bon. We'll go with that. But thanks, man. It's been great having you. I really appreciate your time to participate in this leadership series.
Appreciate it, Mark. It was great chatting with you.
My pleasure.